Good. We have left off by European Court of Human Rights. So I'm going to mention the Court of Human Rights shortly, and then we'll continue with the International Refugee Protection. European Court of Human Rights is a product of European Convention on Human Rights. All right? And that convention was signed in 50s. Turkey signed it, if I'm not mistaken, in 1954. And then the court was established. The court is an international court. The court is not a universal court. It's not a global court. It's a regional one. And the parties to the court are actually the state parties to the Convention on Human Rights. This means the applications or the complaints that individuals can do against states, the individuals can only complain about the member states, okay? It's impossible to make an application against United States of America, for instance, because United States is not a party to European Convention on Human Rights. So this is an international court, but this is not a universal court, it is a regional one. And there are, well, we have said that, by the way, individuals make their applications. That's true. There are individual rights and collective rights. Therefore, individuals can make applications by the European Court of Human Rights. In addition to that, groups of people can also make applications if they are the victim. Against whom are those complaints done? Against states. That's true. Complaints are done against states. How about against companies? No, it's not possible. Other individuals? No, again not. The complaints can only be done against state parties. The complaints we have said that can be done by the individuals or by groups of people, by collectivities. And the applications should be in line with the European Convention. So the rights that are mentioned in the European Convention must be violated, then an application can be done. So if the right is not mentioned by the Convention, is not under the protection of the Convention, then the complaint cannot be done as well. So that's the limit. Convention is the limit. There must be a victim, of course. And the victim of violation of human rights, the person is supposed to do what first? Of course. First of all, the entire domestic remedies have to be exhausted. Exhausting domestic remedies, what does that mean? First of all, a court case has to be opened in the home country. And then, when the decision is given and when the victim is not satisfied with the decision, then the individual is expected to carry the case to one higher court until the final decision is given by the highest court. The domestic processes continue. After the highest court gives the final decision, the final decision cannot be appealed anymore. This is the end of entire appeals. After the final decision is given, then, and the victim is not satisfied with the decision, then it is possible for the victim to bring their case to European Court of Human Rights. The thing is that we have said that, first of all, the complaint must be relevant to Convention. Secondly, the applicant is an individual or group of people, and the complaint is done against a state, and the domestic remedies are exhausted, and finally, after the last decision is given, the victim has a deadline within 6 months. The application by the European Court of Human Rights must be done. No later. Later, the application is impossible to be done. So the victim has only 6 months. Okay, do you have questions until here? Where is the court? In Strasbourg, and that's in France, okay. And the working language of the court is? English and French, that's also true. Well, I read that they receive yearly something like 50,000 applications. And 90% of those applications are dismissed. Crazy number, right? They're dismissed because of such reasons. Either the deadline was passed, or domestic remedies were not exhausted, or there is no victim. Well, the thing is that being a victim is a huge question. What does that mean, being a victim? That's subjective. The thing is that there must be a damage at least, right? Your human rights are violated and you come across with certain disadvantages. You're damaged, you come across with some losses, or your dignity is violated, for instance. So if there is no damage, then no one is a victim. And we understand that the court is dismissing such cases because there are many victims around whose rights are violated. So they have to be prioritized. So this is the idea behind. And if the application is not against a state, or if while making the application forms are online actually, you can take a closer look what is expected to see. To show that the victim has exhausted entire domestic remedies, all decisions are submitted with their dates and so on. So if the person has not exhausted domestic remedies, of course they're dismissed. Or there is a violation, there is damage, however, that the violation is not under the coverage of European Convention on Human Rights. Then this has to be dismissed by the court as well. Well, I did not spread you the European Convention on Human Rights, but you can simply guess which rights are included to that one. Can you guess? The basic rights are like? Right to life, true. Right to privacy, for instance. Right to family life. There are social rights, core rights. Give me an example of political rights, civil rights.
Freedom of expression.
Freedom of expression. What else? Right to vote. Assembly. There are also some prohibitions in that convention. What can be prohibited? Prohibition of common. Of course, torture. What else? Slavery. And so on. So, if violations are in the coverage of European Convention on Human Rights, then application can be done. Do you remember any cases related to European Convention, Court of Human Rights, recent cases? I recall one because that was quite political in Turkey. President Erdogan said that it does not bind us.
I remember one case.
What case?
I don't remember the name, but there were the Alevi citizens who are forced to take religious obligations.
Okay.
I don't remember the case name.
It's not important. The thing is that they were not willing to be subject to the course of religion and ethics, and that's a must course in the curriculum. So there was a case like that. What other cases do you recall? I recall political cases and one individual case, yes? That's true. That's a sad story, of course, because the victim is dead in that sense. Yes. Onur Yasercan case. I guess we have spoken about that case, right? A little bit. So you are familiar with what has happened. Well, he was He was caught with some grams of weed with him, so he was taken to police station. That's how the procedure is, of course. It's something against laws. Therefore, he was supposed to be brought to a police station. And after that, what happens is that the person has to be questioned. And the person is asked if the person needs a defendant, a lawyer, and then the defendant comes as well to support. So this is a procedure. What has happened by him is that was something like torture. He was peeled off naked, he was searched naked, he was beaten naked, and so on. And suddenly he was completely silent after the entire case. He was sent back home, of course. And after he was at home, he stopped talking to people, including friends and family. He was talking so short and remaining behind entire closed curtains. So traumatized. Then he received a second call from the police station, calling him back again. He did not want to go. Therefore, he committed suicide. He jumped off the window. That has happened, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010. And after that, well, there's a victim. Never forget something. Human rights are for entire Homo sapiens. That's it. Also for guilty people. Also for criminals. The person can become a terrorist. That's horrible. They kill innocent people. They kill babies. They kill children. They kill unarmed people. They kill civilians. Unacceptable. But human rights is not telling us that if you capture a terrorist, you can torture as much as you want until you feel satisfied and then you can kill and throw the body away. We never hear such things. The laws say that everybody has right for fair trial. Everybody has right for fair hearings. So even terrorists have human rights. So this is the key, and this is a controversy. Sometimes people think that, well, okay, that was a criminal then. No, human rights are for everybody. And it is because of human dignity. We are all Homo sapiens, we're all human beings, and therefore we share the same dignity. When dignity of one humankind is violated, that's the violation of our dignity altogether. Okay, he has done something wrong and he was in the police station. In police station, he was tortured and his dignity was also violated. And later, he was not living anymore because he has committed suicide. There is a victim and victim is not living anymore, but he has relatives, the family. They have started to find solutions in domestic courts. The problem was that, I don't know if you have read for the case, then perhaps you know more details than I do. In those domestic remedies, first of all, those policemen were not found. Who did that? After a while, the policemen were found, but they were not coming before the judge because they have tortured. They were coming before the court because they have changed some sentences in his papers. So it was forgery on paper. So it was not a torture case and so on. And this was, of course, somehow hurting the family. And they were trying to find justice for their son. And the mother gave up in 2014. She has also committed a suicide through the very same window as his son. She died as well. At the moment, the father is still alive and the sister. And they have carried the issue to European Court of Human Rights because they have exhausted the remedies and they have made their application within 6 months. And we did not hear about any final decisions yet. We'll see. I recall Demirtaş case because that's so new, because it was a huge political discussion. Do you remember? Where's Demirtaş? Let's start from here. Who's Demirtaş? Let's start from Selahattin Demirtaş. And who is he?
He's one of the
A politician. Let's start like that.
Head of a political party.
Okay, which political party is that? Okay,
People's Democratic.
okay. And what has happened to you? You said that he's in jail. And why? Yes.
There are actually two different cases for Selahattin Demirtaş in the website.
Okay. How are they?
I didn't understand.
Well, final decision is given for Selahattin Demirtaş. The thing is that let's go step by step. He is in jail. Let's start with the question, why is he in jail?
Expressing support for terrorism.
expressing support, well, because of his political thoughts and expressions. And do you remember how the European Court of Human Rights have decided? And Erdogan was against the decision. So what was the decision? The decision was saying that, well, Turkish state is hurting the pluralism. In pluralistic societies, there are different political senses and political tendencies, and they are allowed to be expressed. So freedom of expression is violated, and there is no need to keep him in jail. There can be a court case against him, but he must be freed. Then the court case can continue. So that was it. I also, because we have spoken about Demirtaş, I recall another case related to Ahmet Türk and Aysel Tuğluk. They used to have another political party, and that was banned in 2009. Do you remember that? Okay, what is that? Democratic Society Party. They were co-chairs of this party, Ahmet Türk and Aysel Tuğluk. And this party was banned in 2009. There are many parties, political parties were banned. Actually, it's possible for us to speak about Welfare Party, Felicity Party. They were also banned because they were political Islamists. So they are the same cases, actually. They have one political tendency, they express their views, and the state bans them, whichever they are. This is recent, that's why I recall this better than the Felicity Party or a Welfare Party. Why was that banned? Because it was said by the Turkish state that the party has organic ties with terrorist organizations like PKK. So the party was banned, and the co-chairs of that party, Türk and Tuğluk, they have, first of all, exhausted the domestic remedies and then carried the issue to European Court of Human Rights. And the court has given a decision saying that, by the way, those two people were also parliament members. And their parliament membership was also banned. So they were fired from the parliament, in better English. The court has decided that Turkish state paying 30,000 euros each for Ahmet Türk and Aysel Tuğluk, plus 3,000 euros each, once again, because of the entire expenditures they have done for the court. Plus, the party was not composed of only those two chairs, of course, they had many members. So some people were given 7,500 euros, some people were given something like 1,000 something euros. Who's paying those money? States, that's true, not the government. There is a difference. Violations are done either by the organs of the state, or so, because the state is complained, and those compensations are paid by the state as well, not the government. Therefore, governments are not so afraid of European Court of Human Rights violations, etc. All right? And at the end, they have taken their political rights back as well. There are many other cases similar to Onur Yasarcan. The victim is not living anymore, but the relatives are still alive and they're looking for justice. Yes?
I remember two cases that the European Court of Human Rights gave decision in favor of Turkish government.
Good.
The first one was about family life, actually. Şerife Yiğit versus Turkey.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was about religious marriage, that imam nikahı, and then the husband died, but they were married for like 20 years and they had lots of children, but Şerife Yiğit had no rights because there is no official...
No hair rights.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she asked for her rights as a wife, and European Court of Human Rights said that secularism in prohibiting religious marriage is a very crucial topic for Turkey when we look at the progress of Turkish Republic in terms of how the religious system is actually structured. Therefore, it's Turkey's right to not to give the wife, like a marriage
That's
rights to Şerife Yiğit, and there was, I think, more than one cases about this scarf issue, like and
True.
yeah, Leyla Şahin decision is one.
That's
and
true.
again in that decision.
Can you explain how that was?
Yeah, Leyla Şahin was a student of medicine, and actually she didn't want to get rid of the turban, and then she exhausted all the domestic remedies, and the again court actually decided in favor of Turkey, and this decision was criticized by, I think, the academicians a lot, because there is a reference to decisions in France about the same topic, about secularism again and turban. However, the court's behavior changed because, again, they said that secularism is very important in Turkey, etc., etc. However, these are not the real justifications of human rights violation there. So, and I think then the course of court changed in following years. However, in that time, and then Leyla Şahin left to Turkey and become very popular and very successful as doctor in, as I remember, in USA.
Okay.
So and I think never turned back to Turkey. But yeah.
That's true. That's an actually interesting case, Şerife Yiğit case. Can you get married through religious ways but no state marriage? Is it prohibited by Turkish laws? It is prohibited by Turkish laws. Turkish laws say that you must get married first of all through stately ways. If you do so, afterwards you're allowed to go for an imam marriage. That's also allowed. But first of all, you have to get married. I mean, a contract is necessary. You have to put signatures so that state knows that you got married. So the state has actually protection for us, be it males, be it females. When you put your signature on, then you're tied through laws, and when you're tied through laws, then your hair is also regulated by Turkish hair laws. If you do not enter into this system, but you try to complain against the state, but I was married, I have given children and so on, that's a sad story, by the way. But the state has protection for all spouses. First of all, register by the state, make a stately registered marriage, and then we can protect your rights. If you are not registered, then it is hard for the state to protect your rights. Yes?
But isn't it still human rights? You don't have to be married with someone else to have your rights, right?
You have your rights, marriage rights.
Yes.
I mean, hair rights. Well, you're single, you have a partner, you have a relationship, your partner buys an apartment. Do you become his heir because you're the partner? And you get married after that, your partner buys an apartment. Then what happens? You have a say on that apartment as well. Before the marriage, he buys an apartment. Do you have a say? You don't. So it is regulating the entire hair laws through the marriage. I also just remembered, yes.
I was going to talk about Perinçek case.
How was that?
Perinçek against Switzerland.
Okay.
Because
Good point, actually. Not Turkey state this time. Yes.
Turkey state, but it was a ruling in favor of Perinçek, so it was quite popular in Turkey as well.
Do you remember the details? What was the case
it was
about?
The Armenian question.
That's
because,
true.
It's illegal to deny the genocide, so-called Armenian genocide in Switzerland.
Good.
And Perinçek did
True.
a conference there or a
Definitely.
meeting, and he was fined by the police, I believe. So he took the case to the European Court of Human Rights, alleging that his freedom of expression had
Was
been
violated. Good.
And the court ruled in favor
Of Perinçek. That's also true. Could you follow what he was telling you? Yes, the Perinçek issue against Switzerland, that's also an interesting one because Switzerland has banned saying that there was no Armenian genocide. And he has done it. He has expressed himself in a conference, and then he was punished by the Swiss side, and Perinçek has decided to carry this issue to European Court of Human Rights, and at the end he was found right. I also recall the application of Republican People's Party in 2017 following the referendum because of the unsealed envelopes. After the referendum has taken place, do you remember that thing happening? The unsealed envelopes were counted as well. And at the end, Republican People's Party had decided to complain against Turkish state because this is a violation of political rights of people. I mean, so uneligible votes were also counted. The thing is that European Court of Human Rights dismissed the case. They did not accept to see the case. Why so? Well, that's also an important part of that, not international, direct domestic politics. I mean, if they had given a ruling, then probably they would have said, okay, we have read through the Turkish rules, and according to Turkish election rules, all envelopes were supposed to be sealed, and laws are passed through the parliament, so no laws were passed against those envelopes by the parliament. Therefore, the election has to be renewed. Perhaps that would be the answer. This would be a very political decision then. And then the Turkish state could simply say that, okay, then we withdraw from European Convention on Human Rights, right? Instead of renewing the elections. And if Turkey steps back from the European Convention on Human Rights, it is bad on individuals, of course. This is how we can, I mean, we have visited the case of Onur Yasarcan. Who can promise you such a thing would never happen to you? And if it happens to you, and if the criminals can never be found, at least we know that there's still another step we can go through. But if Turkey is not a part to European Convention on Human Rights anymore, then the individuals are also not allowed to do that. So this is a deprivation of individuals' rights at that point. So the most important thing is that at the moment you know that, first of all, applications have to be in line with the convention. Applications are done against states, but those states have to be party states to the convention. There must be a victim. If no serious disadvantage has happened, then the application can be dismissed by the court. The applicant must have exhausted the entire domestic remedies. And after the final decision, the victim has 6 months to make an application by the European Court of Human Rights. Yes?
Can I add something? I found something related to like Turkish records for European Court of Human Rights, and most of the cases are related to fairly judge and right for security and freedom.
Those are the recent cases.
Yeah, and Turkey paid lots of money, like over than 100 billion for last 5 years.
Whoa, okay. Well, at the moment, the final decision has been carried in Turkey to somewhere else. Because of what has happened after all those FETÖ issues, Turkish state has established new institutions related to the place of final decision. After that, those people will start going to European Court of Human Rights. So perhaps the course will change in the forthcoming years. We'll see. Do you have any questions related to the European Court? Could you follow everything? Yes? Yes?
Is there any like regional court in the world?
There are. Only Asian states don't have a similar court. But there are similar courts around the world, in Africa, in Americas. That's true. This is most relevant because this class is given in Turkey, and Turkey is a party to European Convention. I find this most relevant. If we start studying the regional courts deeper, then you would see that, yes, there are similar courts around. Any other questions? Only in Asia, Asian states don't have a similar court.